Hi everybody, this is Keith. I have a new script here today. This is Locksmith. We are going to be demoing a script, mod script for Roll20 that allows the GM to manage the DC for lockpicking a door, handling lockpicking attempts, as well as handing out keys that players can use to unlock specific doors, as well as to make certain locks unpickable. Whenever I say door, the script also does the exact same thing with windows. And I guess I'm going to demonstrate here first. This is random. I'm going to switch to player view. We are now in viewing as a player here. I am random's player. I am going to see if I can go through this door and enter this strange house. It's telling me it is locked. I cannot open it. So my first option is I'm going to attempt to pick that lock. This script will work with either the legacy version of the D&D script for 5e or the beacon script for 5 and 5.5e. I have two sample characters here. Random is a 5e character, Jin is a 5.5e character. So I have made the character sheet a bit small here just so we can center on Thieves Tools. We're going to roll that Thieves Tools roll, and it's going to be a normal roll. We can choose advantage or disadvantage there. I have rolled a 21 plus 2. Apparently I've got some sort of modifier going on for guidance. So that is a total of 23. It's telling me that that 23 is good enough to unlock that door. So it gives me a button that I can use to unlock the door. And now random can open the door and enter the house. If that door had been locked and he did not have his lockpick tools, we'll get to that in a bit. All right, so how did we achieve this? We are going to go through the GM setup. So I'm going to switch back to the GM screen. You can see that we have updated to match. And I'm going to run the master code for this script, which is !lock. This is the base command. And this is going to call up the Locksmith main menu. So the first thing I want to do is I can, for instance, select this door again. I can lock it. I can unlock it. When I lock it, it automatically closes it. I can set a DC for picking the door. I can make it unpickable, or I can set it so that it can only be opened by magic. In this case, it looks for the knock spell. So let's take a look at this. Let me go ahead and lock this door again, and let's report on this lock. It's telling me this lock is set with a DC of 18, so it's a fairly tough lock to pick. We'll get to where that the meaning of that key, plus key and plus loot buttons there a little bit later in the video. But let's select a whole bunch of doors. Some of these I have set with the script and some of them I haven't. And we're going to click Show Hide All Lock DCs. This will show me every lock that I have set. And you can see that they appear as labels on the GM layer. They mostly appear as white with a black outline. This one appears as yellow with a black outline. That is because somebody on the map has a key to that door. And every time you show or hide all the lock DCs or run the report, it will indicate if somebody on the map has a specific key to that door. So how do I set that DC? Let's say I want to make that lock a little bit easier to pick. Jin's not as good as lock picking. So I can click on a select door or group of doors. You can set multiples at once. And I want to set a new DC. I'm going to set the DC to 15. And you can see that when you do that, it automatically updates. And now the DC for that lock is 15. So let's go back to the player view and let's have Jin come up and examine that door. First of all, they're just going to try to open it. Oh, no, it's a locked door. So they are going to try and pick it. And we run their Thieves Tools. And we'll choose Dexterity because we didn't preset that for Strength. And we're going to roll. They rolled an 11. That was not as high as a 15. The lock holds. They do not get the unlock the door button. So they cannot get through that door. Random, however, can go back and try and pick it again if he so chooses. So switching back to the GM view, we can see that this one is labeled as unpickable. I can change that if I want. I can change it to only be picked by magic, or I can select it and turn it back to unpickable. All right. So now this one is labeled as unpickable. If I were to move, let's go back to the player view. If random were to move over to this door, and he's going to give it a try, I'm going to move that up just a tad. By the way, the lock picking routines for characters, and later on when I'm showing you keys, it takes range into account. The character has to be about 1.5 squares away from the lock they are attempting to manipulate, or in the case of the knock spell, 60 feet, and it just chooses the nearest door. So random's going to try that door. Nope, not good. So they're going to try their Thieves Tools on that. And they're going to, oops, that's Jin. Sorry, cancel. Random is going to try their Thieves Tools on that. They're going to take a normal. In fact, they're going to take it. No, we'll go ahead with normal. They roll a total of a 23. And they're told, well, this lock is unpickable. They cannot open it. So they're going to go over here and try this one. And they're going to roll their Thieves Tools. Normal roll. They rolled a natural 20, but they're told, oh, this lock is magically sealed. It just cannot be opened without a knock spell. All right, well, random does have a knock spell. He is an arcane trickster. He has the knock spell. Let's go over to their spell section, and let's collapse some things here. And they are going to attempt to use the knock spell. We scroll down and we find out that knock is a 2nd level spell. They're going to attempt to cast it, but they don't have to be right up next to the door. So just in case there's something nasty hiding behind that door, they're now going to roll their knock spell. So click knock, and knock just automatically unlocks the door, and we can, or makes it unlockable. So now random has the ability to just unlock that door. If he goes ahead and tries it again, it will open just fine. If a door is unset, and we can go back and we can look and see that let's just go ahead and we're going to run a lock on a door that I know happens to be unset, like some of these. If we run lock, now we can see that there is no DC set. Let's go ahead and make sure that they are locked. If I were to move random over, if I were to move random over to that area and that door, and go back to the player view, we would see that, yep, that is locked, but they cannot attempt to lockpick it. If I go ahead and use their lockpick skill, Thieves Tools, normal roll, we're just told that the lock is not configured, and it's handled like you would handle a door normally that was not affected by the script. Let's go back to the GM view. If you want to see what every door on the screen looks like, or the settings for it, you can just not select any doors or windows, run locked, and you'll just get the bare bones, but you can show hide all lock DCs, and that will show you everything on the map. Or you can select all of the doors and windows on the map and run lock again, and this time it will show you all the selected ones, so you can manage that quite easily by looking at this screen. If at any point you are lost as to what lock can do, there is a help system. You can simply click the little help button in the upper right hand corner, and it will ask you to open the Locksmith help documentation. And there is the script installs a help handout, which goes through everything that I'm demoing here and shows you what it can do. So let's go ahead and close that. Now I mentioned keys and loot earlier. Let's go ahead and let's move random to this door on the other side. Random has been given a key to this door, but not yet. Let's go ahead and give him that key. First of all, let's run loot, or lock rather. And we can see that this door has DC 15. It is locked. Let's go ahead and show hide all DCs just so we can see what's going on here. Every door has an ID. This is taken from their Roll20 ID. It's just the last 4 characters. I want to give this a key to this particular door, MDXZ, to random. So I'm going to choose random. I'm going to look at door MDXZ and I'm going to say plus key. And then it's going to ask me to target. I'm going to target random. Random now has a key to door MDXZ. They can open it at will. The script will ask you, as a player, if you want to have a macro for what I'm about to show next. Let's go ahead and go back to the player view. And random wants to use a key. Although it has given him a macro, the command is keyring, ! Keyring. We run that, and we are shown, whoops, let's try that again. All right, sorry for the abrupt shift. It turns out that the view as player still has an issue with whispering to a player, and the interface for keyring is whispered to the player. So let's go ahead and continue. So random wants to use his new key on this lock. He's going to try the door first. Oh, no, it is locked. He wants to use his keys. The command is keyring, but if you do not have a special keys token action, it will ask you if you want to create one. Random can't see as a player which door that is, so he can use each of his keys in turn, which might happen in combat where you've got a key ring and you're not sure which is the key for the door. He's going to use the key for door YNMO, which is not the door that he is standing in front of, and he is told he's not close enough to use that key. That just means that there is no door within range of him that he can use on that door. However, he's going to try his other key for MDXZ, and he is told that the door has been unlocked and the icon has changed and random can now open the door. So random can go back over to this door. This door is still locked, so random is going to attempt to pick that lock. But before we try that, random has 2 keys. He doesn't know what the YNMO key is. That could be that door. Let's find out. He's going to try and use that key. That is not the key for that door. If they are out of combat, the character might choose to try all keys. That just means they go through their entire key ring when time is not an issue, and we just assume that they have tried every key. But random does not have a key for that door, so they are going to roll their Thieves Tools. Normal roll. They succeeded admirably. They unlocked the door and let their friend Jin in. Let's go ahead and open the door. Jin comes in. Now, random has a couple of keys. Random knows that he can probably pick that other door pretty easily, being a better lockpick than Jin. So random wants to give that key to Jin. So what random is going to do while he has it selected, he is going to look at door MDXZ, and he wants to give that key to Jin. So he'll press give, and it's going to ask, who do you want to give that key to? And we click on Jin, and Jin now has that key. So if Jin were to type keyring, we can now see that Jin does have the key for MDXZ. They want to use it. Oh, they're not close enough to use that key. Let's go back over here. With a key, Jin can lock or unlock that door. So if Jin wants to use that key on door MDXZ, they can lock it. That door is now locked. They can give it. Jin, being careless, accidentally drops that key at some point. You can click drop. It's going to ask, are you sure? Just so you don't accidentally do it, because once you drop a key, it is assumed to be lost. You have to generate a new key to create, to give that back to a player. Drop it. And now if we run that again, by the way, you can rerun any of the menus here just by clicking on the title. It's going to run it again. You can see that they no longer have the key for door MDXZ. Even if they try all keys, none of your keys fit a door within range. And then the last thing I want to show is, let's go back to the player view, or to the GM view, reduce that. The last thing I want to do is to show, let's say that this door has a key, but it is hidden in that chest, or it is hidden on a person that can be found later. You want to be able to give that key to a player, even if it's somewhere else in the dungeon, on a different map or anything like that. You just want to have that as a bit of treasure they can find. You select that door. Oh, let's go back into the GM view. Sorry about that. You select that door, and I can run lock. And there is a button here called loot. If I click that button called loot, it is going to generate a macro. This macro basically allows you, when it is run, it gives a key to this door to whichever token you have selected. So if I were to go ahead and select that macro, copy it, and later on random is looking through this chest, and I say, you find a key, and they say, I take it. Then I can run this macro, and I can have that macro anywhere. I could have it in a button, I could have it as a note, I could have it standing by, it could be in a handout, anywhere you would normally run a macro from. We run that, and macro found a key for door VR0T, which happens to be VR0T right here. So if they try this now, it is unpickable, but random has a key. So if they run their keyring macro, and they happen to know this is VROT, they try that, and that door, which was previously unpickable, has now been unlocked with a key. So you can generate keys as treasure. You can assign them to characters. Characters can give them from one to another, and they can drop them if they decide they don't need that key anymore. So that is the basics of lockpick. Just to go over quickly once again, when you select a bunch of doors and windows, and you run the lock command as a GM, you can see the DCs of any of those doors. You can set them. You can show and hide them on the map. There are 4 basic states a door can have. It can be unset, and it's just an ordinary normal door like you would get without this script. You can set it with a DC for opening. You can set it as magic only, in fact, so that only the magic spell knock will open the door. Or you can set it as unpickable, which means that it cannot be opened unless the character has knock or a key to that door. And that is the basics of the Locksmith script. If you have any questions, this has been Keith Curtis. You can find me on the Roll20 forums, and I will leave a link to the thread that this script has been introduced in the notes to the script below. Thank you very much. Have a great day.